Hello everyone, my name is Michael SK and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cried Chapter 8. We're still following Takano's backstory here, at least a little bit further into near the present, as she is now meeting the doctor, the coach, the maid enjoyer himself, Irie. She's finally meeting him. Honestly, all those things are true, whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yes, she's finally meeting him to head up the actual research, or the continuation of the research based on what has already been found out with the Hinamizawa syndrome. This is all starting to connect together, right? This is making complete sense. Really, the only thing that's missing is, all right, where do all the mountain dogs come in? Where do things change? And where does Tomatake come in? I think that's like the major things, right? I want to say at least. So we'll just continue along with what Takano has for her past and see what happens.
この度の話、ぜひ引き受けさせていただきたいと思います。
Of course. Given Irie's history, he would never turn down this offer. Despite his mild-mannered appearance, Irie was possessed by a mighty ambition. There was no way he didn't desire a chance to complete research that would prove himself to the medical society that ostracized him. I'm handing him that chance on a silver platter.
ありがとうございます。入江先生ならば、きっと良いお返事をいただけると信じておりました。当方もあなたのような専門家を迎えられ、とても助かります。
しかし、私などが所長でいいのでしょうか。それは高野さんがやられた方がよろしいでしょう。私は単なる医者に過ぎません。人の上に立ったことなど。
ご安心ください。それにつきましては、私も全面的にサポートいたします。トップは制服ではなく背広からというのが上の希望でもあります。お気に召しませんか？入江所長という呼び名は。
Now, wasn't, in chapter 1, I think, wasn't the doctor here referred to as the director? Whether that be a translation error or on purpose for things to change or whatever. I can't remember what Irie was referred to as in chapter 1 because we didn't actually meet him yet.
いえ。いや、しかし。
Irie laughed to hide his embarrassment.
現在、Hinamizawaに研究施設を建設中です。表向きは診療所ということになっています。入江先生にご快諾をいただけましたので、入江診療所という名前にいたしましょう。
一国一城の主とはもったいない話です。
あと、身分を陸自で預かることになりますので、先生の席は陸自の医官という扱いになります。私の上司ですので、二佐の階級になりますわね。入江二佐という呼び名はいかがでしょ
う。私は軍人じゃありません。二佐という呼び名は遠慮させていただきたいものです。所長だって恐れ多いくらいです。いや。
I'm really glad that this guy never turned out to be the villain or evil in any way. He always had good intentions. At least I thought that he did. So I'm really happy that this truly kind man, weird as he may be, is not the villain. He's getting a chance to research brain parasites, plus being given the title of director of a new clinic as camouflage. Plus it comes with staff and funding. He'll even have support from the Defense Agency and the Ministry of Health and Welfare, as well as a research lab with state-of-the-art equipment. No wonder he's laughing so excitedly. However, there are some risks too. Since he'll be involved with this secret research, he has an obligation to keep it a secret. Also, he is going to an area plagued by a mysterious and bizarre disease. There's no guarantee he won't contract it himself. But Irie is too young to even think about those things. Aware of all the risks, he quickly signed the contract with the ambition to have people recognize his talent once again. When I saw him sign the contract, I finally relaxed. I knew he would agree to join us, but at the same time I was afraid of the chance that he'd refuse. Selecting a director proved more difficult than expected, and the only candidate Takano paired well with was Irie. So if he refused to take the position, then frankly she'd be placed in an even worse situation. Now that Irie had agreed to take the position, research on Hinamizawa syndrome can finally begin. The research center, or rather the clinic, will be completed next spring. The Ministry of Health and Welfare and the Defense Agency will send the best equipment and staff, plus an abundant supply of funds. Then finally our research will begin in earnest. Everything is going well. Of course it is. I've put so much effort into making sure things went smoothly up to this point.
以上です。就任おめでとうございます。入江所長殿。三佐、宣誓書へのサインを終わりました。
ありがとう。これからよろしくお願いいたしますわ、入江所長。
こちらこそよろしくお願いします。高野さん、仲良くやりましょう。私も全身全霊をかけて頑張ります。
こちらこそお互い最善を尽くしましょう。
Now the position of director has been filled. Everything is set. Or is it?
それはよかったよかった。おめでとう、高野さん。え、高野三佐でしたかな？
これもすべて先生方のお力添えがあったからこそです。高野美代、皆様に心より感謝させていただきます。
まあまあ、高野さんに本当の意味でおめでとうが言えるのは研究が成功に終わった時ですな。ようやく入り口にたどり着いたに過ぎませんよ。
おっしゃる通りです。寝る間を惜しんで研究に身を投じていく覚悟です。
高野先生が成し遂げられなかったさらにその先へ至られることを私ども一度楽しみにいたしておりますぞ。
まあまあ先生、今日はそういう堅苦しい話は抜きにしましょう。今日は高野さんのこれからと入江機関の設立を祝って乾杯と参りましょう。
乾杯の前にご挨拶申し上げます。
Who the hell is this?
厚生省の永田と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
ああ、高野さん、彼をバシバシこき使ってやってください。彼のところの研究所は入江機関のバックアップをしてくれます。技術的に困ったことがあったらいつでも頼ってやってください。
こき使うだなんてそんな。こちらこそお世話になります。高野と申します。どうかよろしくお願いします。
高野さん、こちらも紹介しましょう。陸自から出向の
Oh, here
富
we
武
go.
君とお好み君です。陸自側からのバックアップをします。ぜひご挨拶させてください。
Okay, so his name was actually Tomitake. It actually
はじめ
wasn't
ま
a
して、
cover up.
富武と申します。この度のプロジェクトの監査役を仰せつかりました。どうかよろしくお願いいたします。
The funding for our research is largely coming from the SDF. It's only natural for the SDF to assign a watchdog to make sure reasonable research is taking place. However, someone in a position like that should be my opponent. Why was someone in that position invited to this private party? Does that mean this auditor is on my side too? Seeing that thorough groundwork, I couldn't help but feel the strength of having a sponsor all over again.
私は直接はひなみ沢に赴きませんが、定期的にお伺いして研究の進捗管理などをさせていただくことになります。
あら、それは残念ですわね。南沢は空気も良くて自然も素晴らしいところですのよ。ぜひ仕事以外でも気軽に遊びにいらしてくださいね。
ありがとうございます。そうさせていただきます。
If he really is an auditor, I should maintain a good relationship with this man. He'll hold the key to all the future adjustments of our funding, so long as we continue drawing it from the SDF.
おこのぎと申します。
Oh yeah, there we go, Okanogi. I knew that name sounded a little familiar.
よろしくお願いいたします。
彼は不正規船部隊の一つ山犬の隊長です。南沢に常駐し三佐を直接サポートします。
ボディーガードみたいなものと思っていいのかしら。
要人護衛、機密保持が主な任務です。三佐の直接の手足となりますので、どうかこき使ってやってください。
よろしくお願いします。
Tomitake seems to be an honest type for a military man, but this Okanogi person looks the complete opposite. His main job is to preserve secrets, but I bet he's also good with espionage tactics like counterintelligence and information control. Yes, that would explain his demeanor. Since the SDF is funding our research on Hinamizawa syndrome, of course this is considered a military operation. Therefore, this research has to be done in secret, and that's why a unit like this is necessary. Besides, it's very reassuring to have someone capable of combat working under me. I should maintain a good relationship with him too.
さあさあさあ、挨拶はこれくらいにして早く乾杯に移りましょう。さあさあ、富武君も足を崩して。今日は入江機関の前途を祝して無礼講で参りましょう。
While this is supposed to celebrate the establishment of the Irie Institute, Irie himself isn't here. But that is his job after all. Irie is simply a puppet to fill a seat. Of course, I expect him to help me a little with his expertise, but he's ultimately an outsider. This was supposed to be a gathering where I would show my appreciation to those who helped me establish the Irie Institute. But it has turned into them thanking me for all my efforts. I'm always the one to pour alcohol for others, but today people are pouring alcohol in my glass. The new participants were trying to make me happy, and all the top people talked to me casually. They all praised my hard work and my efforts. My research is now recognized by many institutions, and I'm ready to spread my wings wide open. And all the people who are expecting some returns once the research accomplishes something are trying to curry favor with me. But right now, I'm just very grateful, regardless of their motives.
それでは入江機関の設立と高野美代君の今後ますますの発展を祈願して乾杯に移りたいと思います。先生、温度をお願いいたします。
It's like a dream. I know. This is just the beginning, and I shouldn't be satisfied with this alone. But just for today, I can forget about everything else and enjoy this celebration. I'm not a heavy drinker, but the drinks taste good tonight, and the more I drink, the happier I get. This really is wonderful. To be called Major by Tomitake and the others is wonderful too. That's the rank my grandfather had during the war. And that means I've finally caught up with my grandfather. This is only the beginning. From here on, I intend to reach what my grandfather couldn't. This is the best night of my life. Oh, I'm sure there'll be an even better night for you. I ended up leaving to fix my makeup. I'm filled with elation. I need to feel fresh air to calm myself down. My heart is about to explode because I'm so happy. The gathering is taking place a little distance away from the main building. The restroom is in the main building, so I need to walk across the hallway. A beautiful and well-maintained Japanese garden is visible from the hallway. It's raining. I usually don't like rain, but I don't mind it at all today. I feel like even the raindrops are congratulating me. The cool air feels pleasant on my hot skin. It took me a moment to notice how unsteady my footsteps had become. Yeah, alcohol will do that to you. Maybe I drank a little too much. It isn't like me to drink more than I can handle. Although this is a party, I don't want to embarrass myself, so I decided to cool off a little by looking at the beautiful Japanese garden. I found an elegant chair set on a red carpet nearby and sat down on it. Since I was with the associates until now, I was forced to constantly be on my guard against embarrassing myself. But now that I was alone, I could let go and truly relax. When I look up to the sky, I realize it's still raining hard, but in the distance the horizon is a little lighter. Maybe it won't be raining for much longer. Well, that's normal. Rain stops eventually. No matter how cold it is or how hard it's raining, rain stops eventually. I saw a pair of sandals and an umbrella, almost inviting me, so I took them into the garden. The tasteless laughter coming from the party sounds far away. I tilted the umbrella and looked up to the sky. I felt the raindrops hit my face, and gazed up at the sky for a while, forgetting all about my hair getting wet. I thought the rain would cool down my boiling heart, but as my body got cold, I started to feel miserable. My bare feet were all swollen, and the throbbing pain I felt made them seem twice their normal size. Oh no. I think we've gone even further back in the past here. Yep. The gravel road continued forever. I didn't even know what direction I was headed in anymore. I could no longer hear my pursuer. I had absolutely lost him, running through the woods like mad. My body was covered in scratches. I finally started to feel the pain from that. I felt both cold and hungry. There was no place nearby to take shelter from the rain. I was just on a little path in the woods. My worst fear was that I could end up heading back towards the orphanage after bolting and losing my sense of direction. I had crushed that man's finger. I didn't think I had bit it off, but I was sure it would leave a scar. Taking that into consideration, it was very clear to me what kind of torture awaited me back at the orphanage. Therefore, I'd have to reach the House of Love and Mercy. If only it had been daytime, then I could easily have found the right way to go. However, with this rain, there was nothing I can do. But I couldn't stop. I had to keep walking until I reached something. I wondered if Eriko and the others had escaped safely. I didn't know how many people came after us, but at least one came after me. In other words, it meant they had a better chance. Did they reach the House of Love and Mercy? Were they drying themselves with soft towels? And if they still remembered me, would they save a towel for me too? I felt so cold. I wanted to find shelter and sit down, but there was nothing of the sort. I saw a tree that looked like I could take shelter under it, but the branches and leaves were dripping with water. It was then that I realized that the sky was gradually getting darker. Would this day end in rain? There were no street lights where I was. Soon enough, it would be totally dark. And then I wouldn't be able to walk any further. I just wanted to sit down even if it was raining. But if I did sit down, I probably wouldn't be able to stand back up. So I endured. If I hadn't escaped with Eriko and the others, I wouldn't have had to go through such misery. But compared to what I had to go through at the orphanage, this was nothing. Thinking about that was the only way to make myself move. But when I thought about that, it's true that this freezing cold rain was far better than my life at the orphanage. But that was only when compared to the life at the orphanage. Was it better than the normal lives of normal kids my age? I didn't even need to think about that. When my parents were alive, although we weren't rich, we led a normal life. The gentle smiles and forgivable selfishness. The sound of my mother cooking breakfast in the morning. The sound of a newspaper being folded. Precious memories like that. I didn't need anything else. I had plenty of friends. I had fun at school. I didn't like my teacher, but I liked studying. I had everything I needed. That was enough for me. I never complained. I never did anything bad. So why was this happening to me? Everything went downhill after that train accident. The die of fate kept rolling a 1. Now here we go with dice again. The die never showed its good side to me. If the accident was my fault, then I could have accepted it. But it wasn't. I wasn't even there. I waited for my parents at home. I liked going to the mall with them. We always had a meal at the restaurant in the mall. I always told them to let me know if they were going to the mall. But on that day, they went without me while I went to my friend's house to play, My friend wasn't in, so I went back home. I didn't see anyone at home and found a note that said that they were going to the mall. I regretted going to my friend's house and I waited at home. They didn't come home. They were still gone by dinner time. I was getting hungry and got angry with my parents for leaving me. I thought they were having dinner at the mall restaurant without me. If I hadn't gone to my friend's house, I would be eating dinner at the restaurant too. I loved the little flags that came with the kids' meals. I was collecting those flags. Yes, I was. I was trying to collect 20 of them, thinking that that once I collected 20, something wonderful would happen. But I couldn't collect 20 of them. I only needed one more. Of course it was only one more. If I had one more, maybe the accident wouldn't have happened. A very sad memory of a flag from a kid's meal. I kept waiting for my parents to come home from the mall. I was hungry, so I started to eat some dried fish. If I ate too much, my mother would find out, so I was careful not to gorge myself. Then the phone rang. I assumed it was from my parents. I answered the phone in an angry manner, but it wasn't them at all. What happened to the house? We had rented it, so maybe somebody else had already moved in. What happened to my room? What about my desk and all the flags that were there, or that were right in the right middle drawer, excuse me? If it wasn't my house anymore, then where was I supposed to go? Even if it remained my house, my parents wouldn't be there to welcome me or protect me. Just because I didn't have my parents to protect me, the whole world became so cruel. How could anyone take me away from the house I was used to living in just because my parents were gone? Why didn't they just leave me alone? They asked me many things. They tried to confirm many things. But how could I have understood any of the forms they gave me? I was asked a yes or no question. I had no choice but to answer yes. And before I knew it, I ended up at the orphanage. I was beyond heartless, or it was beyond heartless. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just a little girl. I had to sign so many papers, but why this? The warm and gentle world ended suddenly without advance notice, and I was thrown into the cruel and merciless world alone. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why? Why the vine boom? Was this the real world? Did I have any allies at all? Just because my parents died and I didn't have any relatives, the world had become so sad. When is the die going to come up with a 6 instead of a 1 to make up for the continuous series of the latter? Tears were pouring down my cheeks. The salty taste further saddened and irritated me. I couldn't do anything but cry. But no matter how hard I cried or pitied myself, the cold rain wouldn't warm my body or save me. I didn't even know where I was or in which direction I should go. Eriko showed me the map to the House of Love and Mercy when we were planning our escape. But we only learned the shortest route. I was completely lost. But strangely, after I finished crying, I felt a groundless strength within myself. I once learned that tears wash away particles in the eye. But there is a different purpose to them too. Tears also wash away what's in the heart. I clenched my fists and forced my feet to move. I headed in the direction that I believed to be correct on the gravel road. The rain was still pouring, and it was getting darker and darker. I roared at the sky amidst the rain. My sadness was turning into anger.
神様のバカ！どうして私がこんな目に遭わなくちゃならないの？私が何をしたの？何もしてない。ただ普通に生活してただけ。そんな私がどうしてこんな目に遭わなくちゃならないの？人生はいいことと悪いことと2つあって、どちらも長続きしないってお父さんが言ってた。ならこれだって長続きしないんだよね。いつまでも私はこんなひどいところに一人ぼっちじゃないんだよね。ねえ、そうなんでしょ？
As I looked up, I felt the raindrops hit my face. There is no God. I knew that in my heart. But such disbelief wouldn't save me. If I believed he was there, I should have been saved. No, I needed him to be there. Was he going to answer me? I heard thunder, then realized that he was there. He was there and he was listening to me. No, that's just nature. In his eyes, everyone was supposed to be equal, and he was listening to me.
もう私は十分辛い思いをした。十分すぎるくらいに。これまでがそれに見合うくらいに幸せすぎたなら、この不幸を甘んじて私は受けることもあるかもしれない。でもそんなことなかった。私は普通の生活をしてきたに過ぎない。それが幸せじゃなかったのかと言われたら、確かにそれは幸せだったのかもしれないけど、だからってそれの裏返しがこれでは甘
I heard thunder again. He was listening. I continued.
もし私の運命が神様の何かの間違いだというのなら、もう私を解放して、これで私の不幸を終わりにして、私を今日までの不幸に見合う幸福に導いて。でももしこれが私に与えられた運命で、このまま私に生涯を終えろというのなら、こんな人生いらない。私を殺してよ。その雷で私を打ちつければいい。落雷で殺されてしまうという。さあ、私の人生を無慈悲に奪ったように、その雷で無慈悲に私を打ち据えればいい。
I heard thunder again. It was loud enough to make me shiver. Normally, I would just hide in the house and wait until the thunder went away. But on that day, I wasn't afraid.
さあ、殺せ。
Alright. Yeah, let's zoom in. Let's see them pixels.
田無美代子はここにいる。
Tanashi, huh?
私のお父さんとお母さんを奪ったように、私の命をここから奪え。
The heavens replied to my provocation. The heavens took aim at me, a lowly human who dared sling constant, insolent insults at them. That was my wish. I opened my arms. He's God, so he wouldn't miss me. However, I guess even God makes mistakes sometimes. Although he's supposed to be fair, he had been unfair with me.
さあ狙え、殺せ。私を天に連れて行け。だがもし私を殺し損ねたなら、私の運命をひっくり返してみろ。哀れな子。
Huh? A flash from heaven. I thought I smelled something burning just before it hit. The sheer force knocked me to the ground. It was a strange experience. It was something that had just happened, but it already felt like it had happened many years ago. I had no idea how long I was down for. I smelled something odd. The bad stench woke me up. When I looked, I saw a huge tree behind me that had been split open. Its leaves were smoldering. I looked up and saw sparks in the darkness. I couldn't understand what just happened. I just stood there. The thunderbolt had struck. It didn't strike me, it struck the tree behind me. I didn't get to die. He was telling me to keep walking in the woods in the cold rain. I won my bet with God. I bet my life. I bet my life against the lightning and thunder. It could have killed me instantly, but he missed. So he had to fix my life. I looked up at the sky, laughing and bragging that I was still alive. I heard thunder again. It was acknowledging its loss. Come on, God. Save me. I won the bet, so save me from this misery. I stood there. I waited for God to do something while the rain poured down on me. But he didn't answer me again. I couldn't hear the thunder anymore. Again, I felt the warm tears pour down my cheeks. What was I thinking? If there was a God in heaven, he wouldn't have let anything like this happen to me. My miserable life was the proof of God's non-existence. The darkness was about to swallow me utterly. Would I have to sleep out there? God must have wanted me to die slowly in this cold rain instead of granting me an instant death by lightning. I wish the sun would go away. I wish the sun would never rise. I wish that as the woods had grown completely dark, my existence would be hidden by that darkness. I wish that I could just disappear. Had it been an eternity, or was it a matter of seconds? I couldn't even tell time in such darkness. It was then that I saw something. It was a light. I noticed it only because the woods were so dark. But was it really there? Had it been there this whole time? I felt like the light was inviting me towards it. It was a fluorescent light. I didn't normally like fluorescent lights because I had always thought they looked cold. But I didn't feel coldness from that white light. I made myself believe the light was a guide sent by God. I had to believe, otherwise I wouldn't be saved. The light reflected in a puddle. It wasn't a muddy puddle. It was a puddle on asphalt. I had made it out of the woods and was on a paved road. The light was a street light. Being on a paved road didn't really resolve anything. It was just a country road. It was a road that went through the woods, so there were no houses, no shops, and not even a single car going by. There weren't too many streetlights on the road, so it was still very dark. My feet touched the asphalt. It felt so different from the gravel I had been walking on earlier. It felt almost merciful. My feet had grown used to walking on gravel, but after feeling the softness of asphalt, I never wanted to go back to the former again. I could only choose between heading left or heading right. I was grateful to God for leading me to this asphalt road, but I wish that he had given me a little more guidance. Such a little bit of luck couldn't make up for all the unhappiness I'd gone through. And that was when I sensed his guidance. I saw another light in the distance. It was only on the right side. I headed towards it, and when I got there, I understood what it was. I was amazed to find it there. A telephone booth. Who would actually make a call in the middle of nowhere? A telephone booth in the countryside was rather unusual. There were plenty of red public phones all over, but I had always thought telephone booths only existed in big cities. It almost looked as though the telephone booth had been put there as punishment for doing something bad. When I thought that, I felt bad for the lonely telephone booth. It reminded me of myself. Even if I went inside the telephone booth, what could I even do in there anyway? I already knew the answer to that question, but no matter what, I just had to get in there. I mean, it's technically shelter, right? That's like a huge thing right now. The door squeaked as I opened it. There were lots of moths and other bugs flittering around the light. I usually hated bugs, but in that moment, I felt that they were my friends, sheltering from the rain like me. There was no heater, but it was still very warm inside of the booth, It sheltered me from the cold rain. Soon enough, I crumbled to the floor. The warmth from the fluorescent light embraced me gently, and I felt like it was telling me that it was okay to cry. But I had no more tears left, because I cried them all when the lightning struck. Aching scratches covered my body. My calves were in pain too. Everything hurt everywhere, and I didn't want to get up ever again. I wished I could fall asleep, but if I did that, the staff from the orphanage might find me. The windows on the booth were high up, so if I sat down, I wouldn't be visible from the outside. But as it was the only shelter in these dark woods, the staff would be sure to check it. That was why I couldn't stay there for long. Telephone booths from back then weren't completely made of glass, so it was possible to hide inside one. My exhausted spirit understood that I had to move, but I just couldn't make myself. Maybe I was experiencing some kind of vision. I felt a strange calmness that I'd never experienced before. I didn't feel that I was myself. It was very strange. I thought that maybe I was killed by that lightning. I had assumed I was still Miyoko Tanashi, but maybe I wasn't her at all. I seriously considered those things. Then I started to think that the telephone booth had something to do with it, because God led me there. He couldn't have done so just because it was providing shelter from the rain. There had to be something else. I wondered what it was. Could there be something in the booth that could save me? But what? A telephone booth is used to make a phone call. But I didn't have any money. But then, I noticed something that looked like copper. My heart skipped a beat. The 10 yen coin I saw wasn't there before. Did I just miss it? I didn't think so. It must have just showed up. In other words, this 10 yen coin was guidance from God. He was telling me to make a call with that coin. But who? There was no telephone book. In that case, I could only call a number I knew. Did God want me to do that then? There was only one coin. I could only call one number, and I couldn't talk for that long. I had challenged God earlier, so it was just a matter of course to think that God was challenging me in return. I had only one chance, and he wanted me to test my luck with that chance. I left the phone booth and looked up at the sky. Then I yelled in my heart, "You're on, God." I wondered who I could call. Who? My house? My parents were dead and I had no relatives. Even if I called, nobody would answer. Actually, the phone bill wouldn't have been paid for a long time, so the phone line would already be disconnected. My house was my lost life itself. No, the debris of my life. Calling home would simply be an expression of regret, which ran counter to the positive attitude of one trying to change their life. So surely using the coin to call my house was wrong, which meant I had to cast this 10 yen coin towards my future. Future. My future? What future anyway? Then I heard a huge thunderclap, which cleared my mind. In that clear state of mind, I saw something from the past. It was the last sight of my father, his final moments on the hospital bed. Though suffering from pain, he tried to tell me something very important.
もしもな、お父さんが死んだら、高野先生を頼りなさい。高野、ひふみ先生だよ。言ってみなさい。
高野ひふみ？
そうだ、高野、ひふみ先生だよ。高野先生はお父さんの恩師なんだ。きっとお前を助ける。
お父さんお父さんお父さんお父さん。
Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctors stopped him from talking, so it wasn't audible. It shouldn't have been, but it was to me. I heard it, but I didn't want to hear him say it while suffering, so I pretended that I didn't hear. He said it while coughing. I heard it. They were numbers. I swallowed once. That's right. It was a phone number. He knew nobody would take me in because we had no relatives. He told me to get in touch with him, Dr. Hifumi Takano. He tried to tell me his phone number. What had I done? He tried so hard, using his last chance to tell me the most important thing. The thunder from earlier had made me remember it. The number I couldn't remember even once came out so smoothly. I dialed it in. This really was it. This was the number for my father's teacher, Dr. Takano. But my hand stopped just as I tried to put the coin in, excuse me. What if I hadn't remembered it correctly? No, there was no need to hesitate. I had to believe in myself. This had to be the correct number. I had to dial it before I forgot it again. I picked up the phone and put the coin in. Beep. I heard the dial tone on the other end. At that point, I decided to kill myself if it didn't work. Oh my god. I could go back into the woods and wait for another lightning bolt. I could lie down and let the rainwater drown me too. I could also fall asleep in the middle of the road and wait for a car to run me over. I made up my mind and put the coin in. I didn't hesitate any longer. I dialed the number at once, but I had to be careful. If you dial quickly, sometimes you can make mistakes. I was getting irritated, and that almost made the phone number so vague in my head. I dialed the last digit and heard some electronic sounds on the other end. I hoped that I dialed the correct number. I didn't know what to say to Dr. Takano if it did connect. Where was I? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to ask him? I didn't know any of those things. Making a call isn't cheap. 1 10 yen coin would only buy me short time to talk. The line must have connected then. I heard a ringtone. I only had a short time once someone answered the phone. I thought for a moment that I should put the phone down. Then I could at least get the coin back. I could call back after sorting out my thoughts. But then someone answered. Oh, there we are. There we are. At least somebody picked up. Well, make sure that it's the doctor. And the next episode. Yeah, I'm still kind of tired from my weekend's activities, so keeping these episodes, yeah, they're around the same length as they should be, so I'll say that this was an okay length episode. Yeah, I'm not trying to push it or anything. Still trying to get as much rest as I can and not overexert. I was doing a charity thing over the weekends, so I am dead tired. But it's okay. It's okay. It was successful and all, so it's all worth it. But yeah, I'm tired. But thank you all for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. This was definitely an interesting one as we can continue to follow Takano's past. Not only are we getting the opportunity to connect things that we kind of already saw the result of through many chapters and finally pieced everything together in the previous one, we're seeing how everything's kind of coming together, which is really cool. And we're also seeing how Takano became Takano. She actually had a completely different name when she was younger and terrible circumstances, which in a way I think is good, and hear me out, because it's giving us an opportunity to actually feel something for the antagonist, to understand where they came from. It shows that they really are a human and that they just went down the wrong, slope or whatever, something along those lines. It's good to humanize the antagonists and actually feel for them and understand their goals. It makes them an even better antagonist, a better villain, at least in my opinion. So I'm excited to see how much more torment that Takano has to go through here as a child. Hopefully not too much more. And we'll just continue trekking along. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.